What? What's going on? As I entered my room, I was shocked by the sight before me. My treasured accessories and favorite clothes were all gone. Could it be a burglary? In a panic, I reached for my phone to call the police. Just as I expected, you're panicking. Mother. As expected, you can't mean that. That's exactly what I mean. I threw out your personal belongings as trash. What? Watching my panic, my mother-in-law laughed out loud and said something unbelievable. She had thrown out my belongings as trash? Why would she do that? I wanted to ask her for an explanation, but she started explaining before I could ask. How long do you plan to leech off this house? Hurry up and leave. I threw out your stuff to make it easier for you to leave, you should be thanking me. I see. She had always been bullying me to drive me out. Well, if she says so, I don't think I'll try to get along with my mother-in-law anymore. Understood, then, I'll leave. Good, that makes things easier for me. Make it quick, will you? But if I suddenly leave the house, I have nowhere to go. Can I have a week's grace? Fine, I suppose that's okay. Just make sure you leave after a week. I was given a week's grace by my mother-in-law. With this much time, I could look for a new place. Just you watch. I'll show you who you're dealing with. My name is Sarah. 3 years ago, I transitioned to becoming a freelance illustrator. Having worked at an animation production company after graduating from a vocational school, I had some savings. I'm thinking of going freelance soon. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, Sarah, I won't object. Give it your best shot. I'll support you. When I asked my husband Kevin if it was okay to go independent, he was supportive. I was surprised because I had assumed he would object. We had been dating since vocational school and followed different paths after graduation but continued our relationship smoothly, getting married in our 3rd year of working. This year marks our 8th year of marriage. Really? Thank you. Well, I'm a man who gave up the illustrator path, so I'm curious to see how far you can go, Sarah. But don't overdo it, okay? You can always rely on me if you're in trouble. Yes. I'll do my best. Saying that, I left my job and became a freelancer, but it wasn't easy to earn a living. There were months with no income at the beginning, and I often felt down. Maybe I just wasn't cut out to be an illustrator. I thought so many times, but I never gave up and continued to draw and post on social media. One day, a picture I posted went viral, and I became a well-known illustrator on social media. From then on, I started earning significantly from corporate projects and app stamps. It's all thanks to you pushing me. Thank you. No, it's your hard work that's been recognized. That's amazing. I really appreciated my husband. If he had said no, I wouldn't have been able to earn as much. Although I still hadn't saved a lot of money. Ideally, I would like to buy a house and have my own studio. Currently, Kevin and I live in a cheap apartment. It's great that my work is increasing, but I wish I had more space for materials. One day, my husband suggested that we move into his mother's house. The house is just my mother, and there's extra space, so why not? Really? Is that okay to just decide on our own? Of course, I've already talked to my mother. Ever since my father ran off with his mistress when I was a kid, there's been extra space. My mother said she doesn't mind if Sarah uses it. I couldn't see any reason to refuse such a generous offer. I immediately told my husband that we would move to his mother's house. 2 weeks later, when we arrived at his mother's house, my mother-in-law welcomed us warmly. It's been a while, Sarah. Long time no see. Please take care of me from today. Likewise. Kevin told me you're now a popular artist? Not really. Feel free to use the room as you like. Come on in. Living with my kind mother-in-law and husband, I felt no anxiety. I was determined to do well in my creative work in this new environment. However, I had no idea at the time that the seemingly kind mother-in-law was actually like that. After living at my mother-in-law's house for 3 months, I had gotten used to the environment. All right, that's the delivery done. Work was going well, and my workspace had also been upgraded, significantly increasing my earnings. Everything was going smoothly. I got a bit carried away, but then, 2 months later, my husband was suddenly fired, causing a major disruption in our lives. Sigh. What should I do? As soon as he returned to his mother's house, my husband sighed and muttered. What had happened? Did his sales not go well? What's wrong? Did the sales go badly? After graduating from vocational school, my husband worked as a salesman for a major trading company supplying factories. I thought he might have failed in his sales efforts, but the reply I received was unexpected. I got fired. Huh? What did you say? So, I got fired. I was laid off. It can't be true. My husband had been working diligently. Why then? You were laid off. Did you do something bad? Of course not. It's just that our department alone had significantly poor sales, and the company judged it as a bad investment. They told us to either spend our days as sidelined employees with a significant pay cut or accept a generous severance package and leave. It's practically a forced layoff. I couldn't ask my husband anything more. After being so abruptly betrayed by the company he had devoted himself to, I had no words of comfort for him. The least I could do was leave him be. From the next day, my jobless husband started spending his days lounging around the house. Honestly, I wanted him to change his mindset and look for a job, but he probably wasn't ready yet. Oh well. I'll have to work hard. For my husband and my non-working mother-in-law, I threw myself into my work more than ever. Sometimes, I was so busy that I skipped meals and worked from morning till night without stopping. This is bad. Maybe I overdid it. Even while occasionally having such thoughts, after about a month of continuing, a substantial income was deposited into my account. Seeing an amount I had never seen before, I inadvertently said to my husband, "You don't have to rush to find a job anymore. I earned $50,000 this month, so with this much, we can live without any luxuries." Whoa, that's amazing. My husband said I was amazing, but his eyes looked cold. Why did I mention my earnings to my husband at that time? From the next day, this became the cause of relentless bullying from my mother-in-law. The next morning. Sarah. Come here. While I was working, I heard my mother-in-law shouting for me from downstairs. Unusual. What could it be? Okay. Just a moment, please. After responding, I paused my work and headed downstairs. My mother-in-law was standing in the living room. What's the matter? This. Could you do the laundry? But I haven't finished my work yet. That can be done anytime, right? I've been silent until now, but isn't it about time you started doing your part around the house? You're a daughter-in-law, right? Well, she has a point. I understand where my mother-in-law is coming from. Until now, I had been relying on her and neglected household chores like cleaning and laundry due to being engrossed in my work. Feeling reflective, I told my mother-in-law. That's true, perhaps I was wrong. Understood. I'll do the laundry once I finish the work I'm currently doing, so please leave it here. Afterwards, as promised, I completed the laundry and even cleaned the living room. Perhaps doing such things occasionally is a good break. I thought nonchalantly, but from that day, the bullying from my mother-in-law escalated. Are you still just drawing pictures? Are you a kindergartner? If you have time for such trivial things, go do the shopping. I can't believe your drawings sell. And so on, she started complaining about everything. Every day, being overworked left me with no progress in my work. At times, I was woken up before 5 a.m. to make breakfast, inevitably reducing my sleep hours. I couldn't concentrate on work, and the amount of work I could handle each day significantly decreased. Though my income hadn't decreased drastically yet, at this rate, I might become unable to work at all. Worried, I decided to ask my husband to stop the bullying from my mother-in-law when we were alone in the bedroom. Recently, your mother has been bullying me as if she's targeting me. It's okay to be used for chores, but being freely harassed from morning till night. I might become unable to work at all, so could you please kindly ask your mother to stop the bullying? What a hassle. Why do I have to say it? You should say it yourself. If you're troubled by not being able to work, why don't you move out? You have an income, right? What? What kind of response is that? I've been working hard because you've been lounging around without looking for a job. I think if there's a complaint, I should say it myself. But I can't just say such things to my mother-in-law. In the end, my husband turned his back to me and went to sleep without really discussing the matter with me. Half a year later. After enduring daily relentless bullying, I was mentally and physically exhausted. My husband still showed no intention of looking for a job. My pace of work had drastically decreased, and my earnings had dropped to less than half of my peak period. I'm so tired of this. That's what I thought, and before I knew it, I had left the house and arrived at a nearby park. I just sat on a bench doing nothing, but that alone was immensely soothing for me at the moment. About an hour might have passed. Feeling relaxed, I returned to my mother-in-law's house. I don't feel like working today. Maybe I'll take a nap. With that thought, I went back to my room and was stunned by the scene before me. What? What's going on? As I entered my room, I was shocked by the sight before me. My treasured accessories and favorite clothes were all gone. Could it be a burglary? In a panic, I reached for my phone to call the police. At that moment, my mother-in-law spoke up from behind me. Just as I expected, you're panicking. Mother. As expected, you can't mean that. That's exactly what I mean. I threw out your personal belongings as trash. What? Watching my panic, my mother-in-law laughed out loud and said something unbelievable. She had thrown out my belongings as trash? Why would she do that? I wanted to ask her for an explanation, but she started explaining before I could ask. How long do you plan to leech off this house? Hurry up and leave. I threw out your stuff to make it easier for you to leave, you should be thanking me. I see. She had always been bullying me to drive me out. Well, if she says so, I don't think I'll try to get along with my mother-in-law anymore. Understood, then, I'll leave. Good, that makes things easier for me. Make it quick, will you? But if I suddenly leave the house, I have nowhere to go. Can I have a week's grace? Fine, I suppose that's okay. Just make sure you leave after a week. I was given a week's grace by my mother-in-law. With this much time, I could look for a new place. Just you watch. I'll show you who you're dealing with. From the next day, I started looking for a new place to live. I considered a detached house, but despite my mother-in-law, I decided to move into a luxury high-rise apartment. Of course, I'm not taking my husband and mother-in-law with me. I have no desire to live with a man who relies on my earnings and does nothing but laze around. Although I haven't been earning much recently, I have saved up money from my past earnings. Using that money, I went to a real estate agent and signed a contract to purchase the high-rise apartment. Now, I can leave that house anytime I'm ready. And a week later. The day I finally left my mother-in-law's house, I broached the topic of divorce with my husband. Can you sign this? What is this? Can't you tell? It's a divorce paper. No. I understand that, but why all of a sudden? My husband was puzzled after being handed the divorce papers. At first, I felt sorry for you being laid off, and I pampered you, but you never seemed to want to look for a job, and you kept ignoring the fact that your mother was bullying me, right? If that's the case, there's no need for us to stay married. Maybe, but does getting a divorce mean I have to leave this house? Yes, that's right. I didn't tell you, but today, I'm leaving this house. Leaving. What about the house? You don't have anywhere to live, do you? Don't worry about that. I've already found my next place to live. If I don't like the bullying from my mother-in-law, he was the one who said to just move out, wasn't he? Are you really not going to regret getting divorced? Regret? Don't make me laugh. There's no way I'd do that. Besides, if I continued to live with you, I would surely regret that much more. I burst into laughter upon hearing my husband's question. Ah, well then, I understand. Reluctantly, my husband signed the divorce papers. Now, I don't need to support this man anymore. Next is the mother-in-law. Just before leaving the mother-in-law's house, I confronted her about why she had tormented me so much. It all started when I told my husband about my earnings. Surely, something about that must have displeased her. Thank you for everything until now, Mother. Yeah, I feel refreshed thinking I won't have to see your face anymore. By the way, why did you bully me so much? Oh, there's no deep reason. I just got annoyed that you were earning more than Kevin. I heard from him. At one point, you were making $50,000, weren't you? How dare you earn more than your husband? Normally, you should keep your income lower to save face for your husband. And he was paying the utilities for this house, right? He must have been using his savings to pay them since he lost his job. Unlike you, he's really a good kid. What an idiot. Was I bullied for such a silly reason? Moreover, it seems my mother-in-law is under the impression that my husband was paying for everything in this house. I'm looking forward to what happens after I leave. With a husband and mother-in-law who don't earn anything, they'll surely run into trouble soon. Though I thought that, I didn't say it. So that was your reason. I understand. A wife who can't support her husband will leave now. Goodbye. Leaving just those words behind, I left my mother-in-law's house. On the way to my new high-rise apartment, I stopped at the municipal office and submitted the divorce papers. Now, I have completely severed ties with my husband and mother-in-law. Even if they come begging, there's no way I'll take care of them. Upon arriving at my new place, I immediately began organizing my belongings. The room was spacious due to being in a luxury high-rise apartment, and I secured a considerably large space for my studio. All right. Time to work hard to make up for being disturbed before. After finishing up most of the unpacking, I immersed myself in work. A month later, a call came to my cell phone. Looking at it, I saw it was my ex-husband's name. What does he want now? Honestly, I was in the middle of work and initially ignored it, but he kept calling. Annoying. Losing my patience, I decided to answer. What? I'm busy. Sarah. Where are you now? Where? I'm at home, working. I want to talk about something. Can I come over to your house? Huh? I really don't have anything to talk about with you. Why should I have to meet with you? What a hassle. Just as I was about to brush him off and hang up, I heard my mother-in-law's voice over the phone. Sarah. Long time no see. I'm really sorry, but could we possibly meet and talk? She had always been so domineering, but something seemed off now. She was being unusually humble in asking for a meeting. Reluctantly moved by her serious tone, I agreed to meet. Fine. I'll meet with you, but it's too much trouble to go out, so can you come here? I'll send the location to Kevin. I said that and hung up the phone. Still, I wondered what could be so important that we needed to meet. I pondered this as I resumed my work. 30 minutes later, my home's intercom rang. It seems they had arrived. Yes? We're here. And this place, it's incredible. Did you come here to chat? If so, go home. No, sorry. Please let us in. Though I saw them through the monitor, my ex-husband was there with my mother-in-law behind him. I unlocked the auto lock and invited them into my house. A little while later, the doorbell rang again. I'll open it. I unlocked the door and let them into my house, and they were both visibly astonished. What is this place? A hotel? Sarah, you moved to such an incredible place. What are they doing here? Did they come to tour my house? I don't hear any substantial conversation from the two of them, just astonishment at the luxurious room. So? What did you come here for? If you don't have any business, please leave quickly. You're disturbing my work. I sat down heavily on the sofa and spoke to them in a high-handed manner. Then, as if remembering their original purpose, my ex-husband and mother-in-law suddenly started prostrating themselves in front of me. Please. We can't pay for our living expenses, and our electricity, gas, and water have been shut off. Could you help us out a little? Help? There's no way I would do that. Why should I, who was driven out, have to take care of you guys? What are you talking about in your sleep? Why do I have to pay? You live in such a nice house, surely you can spare a little, right? Yes, that's right. I do feel bad about what I did to you, but we're still relatives, aren't we? Can't you help us? How can they say such unreasonable things with a straight face? I find it utterly incomprehensible. It's a waste of time even to listen to them. Let me make this clear, I was able to buy this house because I worked to the point of death, you know? I was paying your living expenses in place of my husband who has no intention of working. I was bullied by you, mother-in-law, and it even decreased the amount of work I could do. Despite that, I cut back on sleep and worked desperately just to survive. Do you understand that feeling? You wouldn't, would you? You've never struggled, you just exploited me and depended on my earnings. As I said that, the two of them fell silent without any rebuttal. Is that all you came to talk about? Then go home. Also, don't ever come asking for help again, and I don't want to see your faces ever again. If you come again, I'll call the police about a suspicious person. Wait, then how are we supposed to live? What nerve they have. They still dare to beg me at this point. Why should I care? You could earn something yourself by working part-time somewhere. Besides, if Kevin works, the two of you can surely make enough to live on. Don't come crying to me. I'm not helping people who used and bullied me. Just go away. That was the moment when I let out all the emotions I had been holding back. It was the loudest I had ever shouted at my mother-in-law. They probably thought there was no room for negotiation anymore. My ex-husband and mother-in-law hurriedly fled from my house. Their expressions when they saw the inside of this house were priceless. They were so domineering towards me, and now they were completely groveling. Who would help people like them? They should just struggle together. After seeing them off, I returned to my studio and resumed my work. A month later, I was planning to take it easy from the afternoon after doing just enough work in the morning. Shoot. I realized I hadn't opened the living room curtains yet today. Thinking that, I finished up my work and headed to the living room. When I opened the curtains and looked out the window, I spotted my ex-husband and mother-in-law wandering around the high-rise complex. Huh? Isn't that Kevin and mother-in-law? They came back, not learning their lesson. However, they weren't pressing my home's intercom, they were just wandering around aimlessly. They must be mindful of the threat I made. I suppose I should throw them a lifeline. Thinking this, I called them while looking down at the two from my window. Hello? What are you doing? Sarah. What do you mean, what are we doing? Don't play dumb. I can see you from my room right now. Remember what I said? I'd call the police. Wait, we're just wandering, but we aren't doing anything wrong, right? Well, that's true. Their behavior is totally suspicious, though. Then what are you doing? Well, knowing you, you probably came to ask me for help, right? That's true, but since then, I've reflected, and even though it's just temporary, I've found a new job. The salary hasn't come in yet, so I thought maybe you could lend us a little until it does. I'll definitely pay you back once I get paid. Huh? So, you can do it when you're desperate. But I gave up on you because you only act when things get this bad. Huh? So you found a job? That's good then. If you're working, why don't you borrow from a loan shark or something? Bye then. With that, I unilaterally ended the call with my ex-husband. About an hour later, I heard the sound of police sirens. Could it be? Slightly excited, I looked outside and saw my ex-husband and mother-in-law being crammed into a police car. Ah, it ended up like this, huh? I didn't call the police. Probably, other residents thought they were suspicious and reported them. Since that incident, the two of them have stopped relying on me, and I haven't seen them since. I deleted my ex-husband's contact information and changed my mobile number. From now on, I will earn for myself and live undisturbed.